Imagine that you were nearly 14 years old, but were only a few inches tall and lived under the floor of a great house in the country. And imagine your tiny father one day took you upstairs and outdoors for the first time, and then that very first day you met a being that seemed like a giant.
That's what happened to Ariadne, one of the little people called the borrowers. While her father was at work by the front door of the house, she ran off under a cherry tree to sit among the grass and wildflowers. But then something moved above her on the bank. Something glittered. Ariadne stared.
It was an eye like her own, but enormous, a glaring eye. Then the eye blinked. A great fringe of lashes came curving down and flew up again out of sight.
Don't move.
The voice, like an eye, was enormous, but somehow hushed. Ariadne, her heart pounding in her ears, heard the breath again drawing swiftly into the false lungs.
Or I shall hit you with my stick. Suddenly Ariadne became calm. Her voice, crystal thin and harebell clear, came tinkling on the air.
Why?
In case you run towards me quickly through the grass, in case you came and scrabbled at me with your nasty little hands.
Ariadne stared at the eye. She held herself quite still.
Did you come out of the house?
Yeah.
From where in the house?
I'm not going to tell you.
Then I'll hit you with my stick.
All right, hit me.
I'll pick you up and break you in half.
Will you?
Ariadne stood up and took 2 paces forward.
There was an earthquake in the grass. He spun away from her and set up a great mountain of green jersey.
Stay where you are.
Ariadne stared up at him. Breathless, she felt, and light with fear.
I guess you're about 9.
You're wrong. I'm 10.
He looked down at her, breathing deeply.
How old are you?
14 next June.
There was a silence while Ariadne waited, trembling a little.
Can you read?
Of course. Can't you?
No, yes, not so well.
I can read anything. If someone could hold the book and turn the pages.
Could you read out loud?
Of course.
Would you wait here while I run upstairs and get a book now?
Well,
I won't be but a minute.
He began to move away, but turned suddenly and came back to her. He stood a moment as though embarrassed.
Can you fly?
no. Can you?
Of course not. I'm not a fairy.
Well, nor am I. Nor is anybody. I don't believe in them.
You don't believe in them?
No. Do you?
Of course not, but supposing you saw a little man, about as tall as a pencil, with a blue patch in his trousers, halfway up a window curtain, carrying a doll's teacup, would you say it was a fairy?
No, I'd say it was my father.
Oh, are there many people like you?
No, none. We're all different.
As small as you.
What a funny question. Surely you don't think there are many people in the world your size?
There are more my size than yours.
Honestly, do you really think, whatever sort of world would it be? Those great chairs, I've seen them. Fancy if you had to make chairs like that for everyone. And the stuff for their clothes, miles and miles of it, tons of it. And the sewing and their great houses reaching up so you can hardly see the ceilings. Their great beds, the food they eat, great smoking mountains of it. That's why my father says it's a good thing they're dying out. Just a few, my father says. That's all we need to keep us going. Otherwise, he says the whole thing gets... What did he say?
What do you mean, keep us going?
So Ariadne told him about borrowing, how difficult it was and how dangerous. She told him about the storerooms under the floor, about her mother, Homily, and her father, Pod. She told him about Pod's exploits, his skill, how he would venture bravely into the house above to borrow whatever his family needed.
Borrowing, is that what you call it?
What else could you call it?
I'd call it stealing.
But we are borrowers. Like you're a human being or whatever it's called. We're part of the house. You might as well say that the fire grate steals the coal from the coal scuttle.
Then what is stealing?
Seriously, don't you know? Stealing is, well, suppose my Uncle Henry borrowed something from the house. Then my father took it from him. But borrowers don't steal.
Except from human beings.
Oh dear, you are funny. Human beings are for borrowers, like butter's for bread.
The boy was silent a while. A sigh of wind rustled the cherry trees and shivered among the blossoms.
Well, I don't believe it, and I don't believe that what we're for at all, and I don't believe we're dying out.
Oh goodness, just use your common sense. You're the real only human being I ever saw, and I only know 3 more. But I know lots and lots of borrowers.
Then where are they now? Tell me that.
Well, my Uncle Henry has a house in the country and 4 children.
But where are the others?
Oh, they're somewhere.
She shivered slightly in the boy's cold shadow.
Well, I've only seen 2 borrowers, but I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
Oh no!
of human beings.
Ariadne stood very still. She did not look at him.
I don't believe you.
All right, then, I'll tell you.
I still won't believe you.
Listen.
And he told her about the railway stations and the football matches and the race courses and the royal processions and the Albert Hall concerts. He told her about the India and China and North America and the British Commonwealth. He told her about the jolly sales.
Not hundreds, but thousands and millions and billions and trillions of great, big, enormous people. Now, do you believe me?
Ariadne looked up at him with frightened eyes.
I don't know.
As for you, I don't believe that there are many more borrowers anywhere in the world. I believe you're the last 3.
We're not. There's Aunt Loopy and Uncle Henry and all the cousins.
I bet they're dead. And what's more, no one will ever believe I've seen you. And you'll be the very last because you're the youngest. One day, you'll be the only borrower left in the world.
He sat still, waiting, but she didn't look up.
Now you're crying.
I'm going home.
Don't go. Not yet.
Yes, I'm going.
Let me just get the book, please. I'll just be but a minute.
Right.
He was gone, and she stood there alone in the sunshine, shoulder deep in grass. What had happened seemed too big for thought. Not only had she been seen, but she had been talked to. Not only had she been talked to, but she had...
Ariadne, come over here.
She spun around, and there was Pod in the path. Round-faced, kind, familiar. Obediently, she started over to him.
What do you want to go in the grass for? I might never have seen you. Hurry up now. Your mother'll have tea waiting.